This is the Pine Barrens, over 1 million acres of wilderness. But 200 years ago, it looked very different. Huge swaths of forest were cut, rivers were redirected, clouds of smoke billowed up from furnaces. It was a landscape of industry.
Hello, I'm Rodney Carlisle. This is Batsto Village, in its day one of the most successful early manufacturing villages, and one of the few to remain. The remnants of its industrial history have all but disappeared, but the early years are still here if we look. This pond was built by Joseph Wharton in the 1880s, but 100 years earlier there was an iron furnace in the same location.
Here, in 1766, Charles Reed built the Batsto Iron Works. The location was perfect. The Batsto River could be used for shipping and to provide power, and bog ore lined nearby streams. Charcoal, bog ore, and crushed shells were loaded into the blast furnace. The fire was fanned to a terrific heat. As the load melted, the heavier iron sank to the bottom and was drawn off into channels in the sand to form pigs used in casting. Nearby at the Batsto Forge, 5-ton hammers pounded impurities out of the reheated pigs. Work continued round the clock. By 1773, Batsto, now owned by Colonel John Cox, was becoming well known for its iron products.
Manufactured at Batsto Furnace, a great variety of iron pots, kettles, Dutch ovens, and oval fish kettles, irons for sawmills, pestles and mortars, forge hammers, the quality of which is too well known to need any recommendation.
As the Revolutionary War heated up, Batsto became an important manufacturer of munitions, even supplying cannonballs before the Declaration of Independence. Batsto was so important that the British attempted to destroy the ironworks while routing Patriot privateers on the Mullica River. After the war was over, Batsto was again put up for sale. In 1784, William Richards bought the estate. The Richards family ran Batsto for the next 92 years.
Under the management of William, and later of son Jesse, the ironworks prospered, producing tons of iron pigs, hollowware, munitions for the War of 1812, and miles of cast iron pipes for New York and other cities. Farming expanded with new mule and horse barns, corn crib, and grist mill. The blacksmith and wheelwright shops ran full-time. Lumbering was also profitable. Son Jesse installed a new wheel at the sawmill in 1852. William Richards and his family, and later Jesse and his, lived in the big house on the hill, although it looked quite different then. The Richards also built workers' houses that counted among the best in the region. At its height, nearly 1,000 people lived in the village. Batsto's general store provided food, necessities, and fine household goods. Batsto was thriving.
But cheaper, better quality iron was now being produced in Pennsylvania, and iron sales fell. So in 1846, Jesse Richards turned to glass production, window glass, and panes for gas street lamps.
Although nothing remains today, this is the site of the 7 buildings of the glass factory. Raw materials were right here: sand, shells, wood to fire the furnace.
The cylinder sheet method was used in the Batsto factory. Sand, lime, and soda were heated in white-hot ovens until the mix melted. The molten glass was blown in a cylinder shape and gradually lengthened to 4 to 5 feet. The cylinders were reheated, flattened, and cut to size. The glass was labor-intensive and expensive to produce. Plus, the factory buildings frequently caught fire and burned to the ground, stopping production until new buildings could be raised.
Sirs, please note the following deficiencies. Cut too much short of measure, badly packed, sometimes without
Gentlemen,
packing.
some by the last order was very much broken. Please instruct the hands to be more careful, or we will be forced to cancel future orders.
Then, in 1854, Jesse Richards died. His 3 sons inherited Batsto and its debts. Son Thomas tried to keep Batsto afloat, but wasn't able to. In 1867, the glassworks were shut down, and 30,000 acres of the estate were sold for taxes and debts. The village population dwindled, and those who remained did odd jobs around the estate, like gardening, chopping wood, and other meager work.
By 1868, the mills were idle, the blacksmith shop abandoned, the store closed. Greater disaster came in 1874.
On the afternoon of February 23rd, a spark from the chimney of Robert Stewart's house burned his own dwelling, and a strong sweeping wind carried the fire before it. The families were driven into the thicket by the heat, and the fire burned the dwellings along Oak Street. A bucket brigade was organized, but by the next day, in the heart of a forest of stunted trees, 18 smoke-blackened chimneys tell the sad story of the utter desolation of a prosperous village of 100 years ago.
Batsto's story didn't end with the 1874 fire. Joseph Wharton was a wealthy industrialist and Quaker. He bought Batsto 2 years later to be his gentleman's farm, where he could pursue a lifelong interest in agriculture.
A few years later, Wharton upgraded the sawmill with the newest technology. Wood products were highly successful, but Wharton was also keenly interested in forestry management and conservation. The villagers kept the farm and mills running, worked in the store and mansion, repaired buildings and roads. Wharton's sugar beets proved a failure, but cranberries, peanuts, salt hay, and wheat succeeded.
Wharton bred cattle and built the pit silo attached to the range barn. The mansion was a showpiece after Wharton spent $40,000, a small fortune then, renovating it.
The Wharton family only visited Batsto in the spring and fall each year, but daughter Mary Wharton spent extended time there in 1881 taking a rest cure. As mother Anna wrote,
My dear daughter, I am glad to think of thee now in such an attractive spot, and I trust thee is already reaping the benefits of the lovely and invigorating air of Batsto. I congratulate
Joseph Wharton died in 1909. Managed by a trust company for the next 45 years, Batsto was essentially frozen in time. In 1954, Wharton's land holdings were purchased by the state of New Jersey and are now part of Wharton State Forest. Now, as you walk through the peaceful village, listen for the echo across time of the industries that brought it into being, and remember that the woods and rivers and lakes we enjoy today are the same natural resources that first drew people here 250 years ago.